that specific society that grew on our border in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip. And the fact that we did not wipe out this whole evil immediately. When you have an enemy that you have to and you have to win the war. So in a war like that, you act like in a war. You don't start negotiate with evilness. You open your gates for everybody who wants to leave, and those who are not paying the price. Those who wish to fight pay the price, and responsible to whatever happens. Only they are the responsible. Once we did not act like that immediately, we left room for that evilness in the world to exist, and did not fulfill our mission. And it was clear to me at the 8th of October that very fast, because of that behavior of us, huge wave of anti-Semitism will rise all over the world.
We'll continue with my interview with Moshe Feiglin after the break.
To receive a strong fixed rate of return that's not
a division between Hamas and Gaza. There is no difference between Hamas and Gaza. Hamas is an ideology. You'll kill Sinawar tomorrow morning, you'll get another one, just like 10 times before. It happened all the times before. The war is it's not a personal war. It's a war between good and bad, between justice and evil.
And so as you see Israel prosecute this war,
I think we're missing the whole point of that war.
And the point being, from the way you see it, is that this is a spiritual war between good and evil.
Definitely. It's a war for justice. How do they describe that war? What is the name they gave to that war? It's an Al-Aqsa bloodshed. It's Al-Aqsa, Al-Aqsa flood. Mabul Al-Aqsa, they call it. Meaning we coming like a flood to take over Jerusalem. They're not fighting for Gaza, they're fighting for Jerusalem.
You're speaking about Hamas stating from the river to the sea.
Yeah.
And that's an attack against the Jewish people in Israel.
They cannot agree to that whole process I explained before. That the Jews are coming back to their homeland in order to spread the message of life to the world. No. There's no room for Jewish sovereignty in any square inch of the land of the Holy Land. And by the way, that so-called Palestinian nation, okay, which has no history, there's no nation like that, okay? But the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, was established in 1964, 3 years before the Six-Day War. They never asked for any so-called Palestinian state in Judea and Samaria and Jerusalem, in the Gaza Strip, because these territories were held by Arab countries, so they had no problem. And when they got back, and when the Jews expelled themselves stupidly from the Gaza Strip and destroyed the Jewish villages and left, they continued fighting and shooting rockets on Tel Aviv, because it's not about them, it's about us. They don't want a Palestinian state. They want the Jews not to have a state. They want the Jews not to have any kind of sovereignty. Because Jewish sovereignty on the Holy Land means that the process of redemption for the Jews and through the Jews to the entire humanity is continuing. Even though the Israelis themselves are a bit mixed up, but we'll fix it. It'll take time. We'll grow out of it. Okay? They understand the process better than the Israelis do. and they want to stop it. And the whole progressive world is on their side. Why? They fighting against us because they want the message of Islamic death, the Shuhada, to come out from the Temple Mount. Okay? That's their ideology. The progressive world do not want any message of God to come out. So right now, the progressive world, the universities in America, the UN, definitely the UN organizations, okay, World Economic Forum, the health organizations of the UN and so on. They all on Hamas side. The feminist organization, the women organization, World Women Organization, cannot condemn the worst rape that we could think of. Okay, why? Because they're all progressive, and the concept of progressive is, of course, there's no God. We replace God. We rule the world. We shape the world, invent all identities by ourselves. We don't need God. The message of truth, of God, and the message of God is in a tremendous contradiction to the whole progressive concepts. So, of course, they're joining forces with Hamas. So here we stand, the Jewish nation, the Jewish people, in the land of Israel, fighting a much wider scale of evil than just Hamas and Islam. You see, Kelly, the very existence of the people of Israel, the fact that the people of Israel exist for, I think, 3,700 years already, since Abraham, okay? 2,000 years after the destruction of our temple and being spread all over the world, we kept our identity and kept our connection to the land of Israel, which waited for us empty all those years. Go and read Mark Twain's book. Mark Twain, who wrote a book about his journey to the land of Israel in the mid-19th century, okay? I think it was he wrote the book in the 1960s. No, excuse me, 1860s. 1860s, yeah. So he writes, he could not find even a tree. Empty, left, poor, nothing here. But the land of Israel was waiting for its kids to come back for 2,000 years, just as it was promised in the Bible. And the Jews are coming back from all over the world, from all the languages, okay? So this whole wide picture, this whole tremendous process of the Jews coming back to their homeland, creating their state, going back to their language, to their original Hebrew language, points at the Creator, at our Father in heaven. There's a force behind us. You see, there's a covenant between the Jews and God. And God keeps his promise. And most of humanity are believers and believe in the Bible. And here it happens. So these evil forces need to stop it. And that's the source of all this wars of the Islam from one hand, the Nazis on the other hand, the progressives on the other hand, the whole evil side of humanity against the Jews. And that every time I see Jews and Israelis showing this picture, trying to spread it, I'm tearing my hair. This is what we call in Hebrew Chilul Hashem. I mean, we are the children of God. What do you say about God when you show the whole world what these barbarians did to his children. Victory means that our enemies will be wiped out from here forever. This is what victory means. We like to think that we created here a nice secular state, but no, we have a message to the world from here. A message of freedom, a message of peace, a message of goodness, but also a message of fighting the bad, fighting the evil for the entire humanity. When we're running away from our mission, from our goal, from our concepts, we're losing our justification for existence here.
Moshe, what's your message to America?
Americans knows very well, at least most of them, what it says in the Bible: those who bless you will be blessed, and those who curse you will be cursed. Do you want to be on the cursed side of humanity or on the blessed side of humanity? It seems like everything America is doing today under Biden administration, definitely the Democrats, okay, the Democrat Party, is about avoiding any chance of Israeli victory. This is what it is. It seems like these progressive movements that control the American administration very much want Israel to lose, and creating a so-called Palestinian state means that Israel lost the war. Well, America should understand that the Jewish nation existence is promised forever. But it doesn't matter what a big superpower you are. Remember the Babylons, remember the Romans, remember the Egyptians, remember everybody else. Remember the Soviet Empire. Do you think you're going to remain forever? You're not. Unless you'll stick to the Jews, to the secret of existence forever. America is crumbling down today. It seems like it's just a matter of, I don't know how many years for America to exist before it will all crumble down. If America will not go back to those good values that it was created upon, if you run away from those good values, the values of freedom, the values of belief, your whole economy is based on one line on your dollar: in God we trust. You lost God, you lost your economy. And if you want to save America, you cannot attack Israel and stand between Israel and its full victory on its enemies, which is exactly what the Biden administration is doing today.
You have had a leadership role here in Israel. Do you plan to run again for prime minister?
Yes, and I said it publicly, and this is my plan. My plan is to become the Prime Minister of Israel. And I believe that when the Prime Minister of Israel, from that position, the leader of the Jewish nation, will talk to the believers all over the world in that language that I just spoke right now. Which side of humanity you want to be with? The blessed side or the cursed side? want to flourish again? You want to stick to your real values, family values, okay?
And we'll be back with more in just a moment that I had with him in Israel. Do you think you'll win in your next run for prime minister?
I think that there's no other way. I believe in God. And I don't see how Israel can win when the leadership is turning its back to our basic identity and basic mission in life. It's about time that we'll face who we are, not try to be somebody else.
And what do you say of the current leadership, albeit Bibi Netanyahu is at the helm during this difficult time of war?
How come Israel took over the Gaza Strip, the whole desert of Sinai, Judea and Samaria and Jerusalem, and the Golan Heights in 6 days in 1967, and cannot win a war of the Gaza Strip in almost half a year? The answer is very simple. We don't want to win. We don't want to win. Because winning means that the whole Oslo process concepts that we took upon ourselves is gone. That we have to take over our land, hug our land, our promised land, flourish the land, take over the Temple Mount, be ourselves. The whole secular concepts of that thick layer of leaders. It's not only Bibi Netanyahu. Okay, it's the Supreme Court. It's the same kind of fight that you have in your society in America, basically. The basic values that created America, or the new destructive values of progressivism.
You've brought up Oslo several times, and I know that there are many people here who believe that Oslo was a mistake. Take me back to that moment and why you believe that took Israel in a direction that it should not have gone into.
Well, the Oslo agreements is what made me a public figure to begin with, because when the leftist government, the labor government that Rabin and Shimon Peres created in 1992 came to power, and the Oslo process started, which meant let's bring the PLO here, the Palestinian Liberation Organization here, and give them a so-called Palestinian state in our Holy Land, in Hebron, in Jerusalem, in Rachel Tomb, in all the biblical sites. Let's give it to them. The heart of the land, the heart of the biblical land, okay? We should give away. It carries our history, it carries our identity, and we're trying to get rid of it, and give it to those murderers in order to run away from our identity and become Israelis instead of Jews. That was what was the Oslo process all about. And of course, it brought only bloodshed and wars, no peace, no security, for sure not. Okay, but that what it was about. So every believer in Israel was against it, and I created then a movement called Zulot, saying this is our land. And I brought the concept of civil disobedience to Israel. And on one day, on August 1995, I blocked the whole roads in Israel with hundreds of thousands of people, and I led that movement, which made me a public figure in Israel. 30 years passed since then, and we can only see how right we were and realize reality better than all these generals and politicians left and right that brought this process on us. And when I'm talking about reality, I'm talking about God. I always say that reality is the secular name of God. Okay? So if you connect it to God, you connect it to reality. At the end of the day, you connect it to reality. Okay? And you connect to history and you understand what's going on. But because the inner energies that brought us Oslo upon us was to create a new nation out of, instead of Jews, Israelis, not on top of the Jewish identity, but Israelis instead of the Jewish nation, a new nation. Because of that, that was the real energy of that. They cannot stop it. It's about identity. It's not about peace. It's not about security. It's about the very core identity of the people of Israel. So this leadership today that lean on, based on the concept of Oslo, cannot give up on it. So all they're trying to do since the 7th of October is go back to the 6th of October. Let's just fight Hamas and find a better terrorist to give him weapon to control the place and to, to somehow continue with the same concepts. Instead of facing the truth, this is our land. They should not be here.
Nope.
They were not here. They were not here when Mark Twain came here. 90% of them came after Zionism. They holding refugee tickets. 80% of them, or 90% of them, were holding in Gaza. They're holding refugee tickets from the UN, from the UN organizations, and basically admit that this is not their land. Less than 1 million then there, and the biggest wish is to leave, let them go. But we forcing them to stay in order to create, we Americans and those forces in Israel, forcing them to stay against their will and create a Palestinian state only as a weapon against the Israeli, the Jewish sovereignty on the land of Israel. It's a process that people don't understand. But it has nothing to do about peace. It has nothing to do about security. It's a spiritual process against the redemption of the people of Israel, the redemption of the entire humanity under the wings of God. This is what it is.
And we'll be back with more of America's Hope after this. And welcome back. Continuing now with my interview with Moshe Feiglin in Israel. And I appreciate your transparency and your love for your people and for the Jewish faith, Judaism. I'm looking behind you and there are pictures of your family. What did your family instill in you?
Well, my family came back to Israel after 2,000 of exile in 1889. See this picture over here? His name was Yaakov Tzvi Feiglin. He came from right Russia, Belarus, together with his father, and created the village of Metula and Mishmar HaYarden. Metula is empty today because it's on the border of Lebanon, and all the citizens of Metula were evacuated from their homes because of the war. They came when the Gaza Strip was empty. They came when the whole country was almost empty. Okay, but they came because they carried this Jewish dream that never disappeared for 2,000 years of exile. Never disappears in Russia, in Europe. Never disappears by the Jews in North Africa, Morocco, and Egypt. Never disappears from Jews in all around the world that kept the Torah. And you're right, the family cell is the basic cell of the nation and of the entire humanity. A person that has a strong family is a free person. A family that has family usually makes more money at the end of the day. It's more stable, is more rich, spiritually and financially. And we face today forces that their basic concept is to destroy all identities, human identities. The human identity, there's no difference between you and a chicken or a dog. Sexual identity, of course, you can invent whichever you want. Family identity and national identity. All these basic identities that were given to us by God, the identity construction that keeps us free in front of the world. We have the port that we go out from and then going back at the end of the day. We know who we are. Okay? That keeps our freedom. These forces are looking to destroy all these identities in order to enslave us to those forces who wants to control the world. Okay? Globalism they call it. But the basic concept of globalism is slavery again. Just as communism believed just 100 years ago, it's all coming back. But covered with nice, the difference between progressive revolution and the Bolshevik revolution 100 years before is that the Bolshevik revolution tried to take over the world after the tanks of the Red Army. It needed the rifle to do that. The progressive movement is taking over with sweet talks through Facebook and TikTok and our phones and all that. Okay, which is much more dangerous.